who promised to bring the conflict between Russia and Ukraine to an end on day one, is exacerbating. Trump has failed to get a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. Then there's the African meeting, where Donald Trump is realizing that, well, some African leaders, their first language is English. He's surprised that, well, where did you learn to speak good English? He said, well, we are Liberia, an English-speaking country. What are America's interests in the region vis-a-vis China and Russia in Africa? Everywhere Donald Trump goes, he wants mineral deals. In fact, if we're honest, Hunter Biden was in Ukraine trying to get a mineral deal too, according to his laptop. Something about these Democrats and Republicans and their families playing at the very top of the economy are looking for mineral deals, rare earth mineral deals. And America, we must be honest. It does not matter whether it's a Democrat or a Republican. When these families are overseas cutting these kinds of deals, it looks like it's the American people that are sanctioning that kind of behavior. This is new territory for us. Hulsey Matthews is a founder of the firm and is based in Johannesburg. Hulsey has over 30 years of experience in the public and private sector, has lived and worked in England and the United States, as well as across Africa. Early in his career, he was at Hill & Knowlton in New York and at American Express corporate headquarters, where he was director of state government affairs. He subsequently went to work in Washington, D.C. in the public affairs group at the law firm Washington and Christian, where he represented governments and corporate clients. Dr. P.L. Da Silva has over 20 years' experience of backroom diplomacy, mediation, and negotiation. He has taught politics, international relations, and several undergraduate programs at universities in New York, New Jersey, Long Island, and Queen's, University of Belfast in Northern Ireland. Dr. Da Silva's publications include Postmodern Insurgencies, Political Violence, Identity Formation, and Peacemaking in Comparative Perspective. Hulsey Matthews and Dr. Da Silva, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hulsey, let me begin with you. I just want you and Dr. Da Silva to both know that I absolutely appreciated how wonderful the time was we spent together on our last show. And I wanted to make sure that you both came back. Hulsey, the world seems to be bowing to the desires and plans of Donald John Trump. Share with us what some of the consequences and the ramifications of that truly are.
Well, I think you're now starting to see an imperial presidency. The danger becomes when the question is asked, is the emperor wearing any clothes? What does this mean for the strategic imperatives of the United States? You're seeing a situation now in the Middle East, which very much looks like an attempt to remake the Middle East in America's image or in Israel's image. What are those implications? You're seeing a very, very different approach to Africa, which is founded on the notion that let's see what we can extract, in inverted commas, extract from Africa, because critical minerals have become the fashion of the day. What are you going to leave behind when you extract from Africa? Because that has always been the great challenge around the developmental needs of African states and the continent as a whole. So there are a number of questions that it seems that from week to week, there is a new impetus. We also are concerned, I think.
We're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, Hulsey Matthews and Dr. P.L. Da Silva.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind: to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-687-7979. That's 800-687-7979. 800-687-7979.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. show. My very special guests are Jose Matthews, who I had to interrupt just before we went to the break and came forward, and Dr. Pranaka De Silva, whose name I mispronounced right before we went to the break, but I'm fixing it now. Jose, you were making a point, and then I'm going to bring Dr. De Silva into the conversation.
I think I'll let Dr. De Silva take it from there. Prof, good evening.
Good evening. Very good evening to you.
Dr. De Silva, it looks like the world is upside down right now. Threats of unparalleled Russian tariffs from the United States because Russia is not bending to the will of the President of the United States. African leaders in the Oval Office, where Donald Trump, again, continues his crusade for rare earth minerals from one end of the globe to the other, and Israel's involvement in Syria, obviously backed by the United States with tremendous military power. The consequences for the globe are extraordinary. Dr. De Silva?
Yes. So I think where do we start? I mean, things are so bad across the board. So talking of rare earth minerals, the Chinese are the ones who have the control on the supply of rare earth minerals. And it takes years to build up, the required quantities and the different rare earths, and just, trying to run around here and there, whether it's the Congo or other countries like Ukraine. It's not easy. It's not a quick fix. It takes a long time. You got to mine these. You got to, refine them. It takes a lot of effort. Time and effort. As far as the Israeli attacks on Syria are concerned, it's just an Israel that is smarting after the 12-day war with the Iranians, where they got bested. They really, truly got bested, though they are trying to keep things under wraps. And they are trying to, dismantle Syria. Syria is a weak state, and they're using the Druze ethnic community to drive a wedge in Syrian unity. And that is what the Israelis are trying to do. And of course, with the blessings of Washington, D.C., under the aegis of Trump. So things are unsettled. Israelis are bombing Syria, they've bombed South Lebanon, but it doesn't change the fact that they got bested by the Iranians. And in all the wars that the Israelis have fought, this is the one 12-day war where they truly got a hammering. And I think it's not a bad thing for Israelis to come to their senses, because they are slaughtering men, women, children, mostly children, killing them, tens and 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. They're killing them every day, bombing tents. And this is unconscionable. And we cannot stand by and be silent. We, as the great United States of America, in all good conscience, we cannot be silent.
I find it, the reason I began the show with that quote from Martin Luther King Jr., albeit the numbers that Dr. King was talking about reflect, I guess, $1962 or $1963. And today, of course, we're talking a military budget that's nearing, if it hasn't already exceeded, $1 trillion. And yet here in the United States, we find ourselves looking at legislation that will devastate Medicaid, devastate Medicare, devastate the social safety net. The anger amongst the people has yet to even manifest itself because of the way in which the bill was written and delaying the process until after the elections in 2026. But the pain for the American people is coming. Dr. King's point about putting a man or a woman on their own 2 feet right here in the United States. But the idea that we spend $1 trillion, and and the rest of the world knows what we know, that Israel is backed by the United States, that Ukraine is now getting a new look as a result of Putin's consistent bombardment of Kyiv and other parts of Ukraine, that our money is actually going, like the Vietnam War, to fighting these conflicts abroad.
Indeed, indeed. And it's a sheer waste of money, truly. There are rivers of blood. And if you look at the rickety infrastructure, look at the state of our roads, look at the state of the bridges, look at this poverty, look at the destitute people who are homeless. I mean, these are things, if these people are truly Christian, this is what they should be looking at, not going and fighting foreign wars and helping belligerents to go and kill innocent people. They claim to be Christian. What does it mean to be a Christian? It is the Good Samaritan, if we remember the parable. So it behooves us to have a conscience, to have a heart, to care for other people, which does not seem to be the remit of these rich people, these billionaires who are in the Trump coterie. They do not care. And my grandfather told me a story when I was a young boy. He said, how much money can one person have? How much food can you eat? You have only one mouth. How many beds do you need to sleep on? You have only one head and one pillow. So how much money do you really want? And this is in the 60s, mind you. Okay. And it's so egregious. And what we were taught about right and wrong, there's a clear divide between right and wrong. These people are blurring those lines. And what is wrong is right, and what is right is wrong. It's terrible. It's really like end times.
Gandhi was once quoted as saying, the world has enough resources for everyone's need, but there is simply not enough for every person's greed. And I find that a particularly moving quote and a reality that we are living through every day. Hulsey, the idea that the neocolonialist empire, where the United States allows private sector companies to come to Africa and to other poor, deindustrialized nations throughout the world with a big bully stick, the US military, economic hegemony, to extract from the earth the vital materials that multiple generations of future Africans and future South Americans and future poor people who've come from these regions need in order to survive. I don't think that there is an infinite amount of these natural resources. At some point in time, they run out, and then what's left for the people?
No, that's exactly right. And I think it really begs the question. I don't think that any African country or any country in the world is against investment in their country, creation of jobs, to develop their economies. But it cannot be at the exclusion of the development of that country and being able to give it back and leave things behind. So mineral extraction, those minerals are taken out and they're beneficiated outside the country and they don't come back. Nothing is once it's taken out of the ground, it often leaves. And what we'd like to see, I think, across a number of the African states is some of that mineral wealth that is being utilized, actually being used to develop and create jobs, build schools, improve healthcare, so that Africa itself is not dependent on handouts from Western countries or even from China for that matter. There has to be a way in which we can start to see the importance of critical minerals actually being used as a strategic part of a development of a state and not just be for purposes solely for extraction, to build electronic vehicles or to help AI and technological advancements that take place outside of the continent. There has to be some opportunity that's given to make sure that the continent is developed, as well as so that when meetings take place, they're not being, the African leaders are not being, well, we've helped you out, we've done this for you, and, African countries, you're just a basket case or something like that. Well, help develop those countries and let those resources be utilized for the development of the countries from which they're extracted. I think that's really the most important thing that we would want to see happening as part of, if the administration is really interested in statecraft, and the development of economies that can actually trade not only within the continent but outside of the continent, then it will help you in the utilization of those resources, I think, in a proper and meaningful way for the development of those states. But for far too long, those minerals have been extracted and they've then left the continent and gone to Europe and across the world.
Jose and Dr. De Silva, let me just share with you that from an African American perspective, we have borne the brunt of Donald Trump's policies for the last 6 or 7 months since his inauguration, with 3.5 more years to go. He's dismantling institutions of higher education, dismantling diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is a code word for Black. He is overturning and doing everything he can to overturn the Voting Rights Act of 1965. He has done everything within his power to eliminate minority set-asides, calling them some form of DEI or affirmative action, and even empowered the Justice Department to utilize existing civil rights laws, arguing reverse discrimination against whites. Now, that same mindset that he has for us here, I can only imagine that when he talks about rare earth minerals in Africa, that he comes with a similar scheme, a similar attitude, a similar disposition. It may sound like it's just rare earth minerals, but at the same time, I don't necessarily see African leaders understanding who they're dealing with when it comes to how he treats us, and that he is treating them essentially the same. That is, I'm not seeing African leaders insist, well, hey, this is Africa. I'm looking for Black businesses in Los Angeles to do business with. And if America wants these rare earth minerals, you're going to buy it from a Black man in America. And if a Black man can't do business with an African country, well, the chances are we will never do business with Ukraine or Europe or Russia. I mean, we're just not first up for doing business with, a non-native lands. And so it just seems to me, Jose, that this form of neo-colonialism is as true today, Dr. De Silva, as it was 100 years ago, even 150 years ago. Help me with this, Dr. De Silva.
Yes, we are still living in colonial times. We still are. And if you look at the Middle East, if you look what the Israelis are doing, if you look at what the German chancellor said, saying that the Israelis are doing the dirty work for us, what does that mean even? Killing women and children, innocent people, civilians, bombing tents? This is the kind of view that white supremacists actually have about the world, about colored people, brown and black. And it is time for us to stand up again, like the civil rights movement, and say that enough is enough. We are not going to take this. We are going to stand up and we are going to resist. That's what we have to do. And more people need to do it. And we need to vote in the midterm elections come November here and make sure that we are going to be the ones that who are going to hold the administration, and all the Republican senators and Democratic senators, all the men and women in Congress, we're going to hold them accountable. And those people who don't care for the people and their well-being should be thrown out. We need new candidates and new blood.
Josie, I just want to add this. We got about 2.5 minutes or so before the break, and I want you to take your time. If Elon Musk can grow up in apartheid, come to the United States, become the richest man on earth, go back to Africa because Tesla and his business ventures need rare earth, and he ends up with rare earth deals in Africa. For those of us, and Josie knows this very well, we went to the frontline states together, met with all of the leaders. The president of Mozambique, Samora Machel, Kenneth Kaunda, all of the leaders. We met with all of them. If Elon Musk can come back from Africa with a rare earths deal, I think I would just be nauseated. Josie?
I think I'd be behind you, if not in front of you. I think that it will be a very sad reflection of where the continent is in 2025 if that were to happen, and that we somehow accord him a certain status, that this is, we're basically going back to 1887 and the Berlin Conference, and saying that just carve up and take, let the devil take the hindmost, basically. And so it would be a very sad reflection on the continent and its leadership if we're to allow that to happen. Why can't a Dangote, for example, or any of the other African, Mo Ibrahim, any of the other great African business leaders that have emerged in the last 20, 30 years, be the ones who take that rare earth and the ones who do those deals with African American? You'll remember, Jesse, Dick Griffey, Eugene Jackson, all businessmen who had a very strong belief in the development of business between African Americans and Africans, and actually put their money where their mouth is and came to the continent. They were with us in 1986 when we did that trip, and many other African leaders who have consistently done that.
Josie, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, Josie Matthews and Dr. Pranaka De Silva.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Tammy Eswick with BIN News Now. Autopsies are backed up at the Orleans Parish Coroner's Office, all because of an AC outage. The Black Coroner, Dr. Dwight McKenna, says he has to sign off on cause of death cases for the local police department. The chiller where bodies are kept is working, but he says the staff can't work in the autopsy room where thermostats are reading 85 degrees. I spoke to him this afternoon.
The temperature has to be between 58 to 62 degrees, because if not, the floor sweats, the instruments sweat, the wall, and they're slipping around, dropping instruments. and it's too dangerous.
The city says they're waiting for parts to get the AC fixed. Right now, bodies are being moved to a local university so autopsies can be conducted. A judge gave Black NFL player Rashid Rice 5 years probation and 30 days in jail in connection with a high-speed crash in Dallas last year. And a 3-judge panel is allowing Arkansas to enforce its ban on critical race theory in classrooms. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Uh-oh. She's looking at the cigarettes, but she just grabs the gum off the counter. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Chargers are playing in the NFL's first preseason game on July 31st. They play Detroit in the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. The Rams' preseason opener is August 11th against Dallas at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. It was a nice gesture Wednesday night by organizers of the ESPYs to have Russell Westbrook present Oscar Robertson with the Arthur Ashe Award for Courage. Westbrook and Robertson are the NBA's all-time best triple-double performers. Robertson's 41 triple-doubles in a season was an NBA record until Westbrook had 42 in the 2016-17 season. For my youngsters out there, look up Oscar Robertson on YouTube. He was the truth back in the day. Robertson, a 12-time All-Star, is the only player in NBA history to average a triple-double the entire season. In 1961-62, Robertson averaged 30.8 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 11.4 assists. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley show conversation with James Farr. At one point, James said something that caught me off guard, not because it wasn't true, but because it is. Black Altadena is gone. I know it may seem stupid and non-productive, but I stopped in that moment listening to Tavis and James. I broke down and cried. In the back of my mind, I told myself we can bring it back like it was. But James Farr's reality check hit me like a ton of bricks. My community is being murdered. I said murdered, not by the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire, but by the people we elect to protect us, and by greedy and gatekeeping nonprofits who cannot see the forest for the trees. For the first time since the fire, I truly feel and understand my wife's inconsolable pain. Because I'm struggling to find a path to recovery and at least some form of normalcy. My community is crumbling right in front of my face. Lack of funding to rebuild is slowly destroying us. Many of us can no longer hold out, and developers are gobbling up our property. When I hear voices like Tavis Smiley and James Farr speak truth to power on KBLA Talk 1580, it reminds me that we're not crazy, just unheard. Make no mistake here, KBLA delegation, this is war, and we the people of Black Altadena are losing. It's like waiting for reparation. Not gonna happen, brother. In this new orange man world, no one, no entity is persuaded by right or wrong. There is no consequence for doing the wrong thing and no accolades or support for doing the right thing. Will war-torn Black Altadena survive? Your guess is as good as mine. But what have I got to lose? I'm in my 70s and don't have time to wait. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once suggested that riots break out when people have no hope. But there's nothing left to burn down in Altadena. I wish I could say I remain hopeful that my beloved community will rise again like a phoenix from the ashes. I wish I could. With a KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Pasadena Community Coalition at gmail.com. Reach out to me. As always, we welcome your feedback.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, this is Dr. Rosa Milligan, self-appointed mayor of South Central LA. Attention business owners, protect your family now. Your business should never bankrupt your family. Form an LLC now. Register for my Zoom seminar at mytechacademy.net or call 213-878-4742.
In today's Sue Happy society, one lawsuit could wipe out your home, money, investments, even the inheritance meant for your grandchildren. But there's good news. An LLC protects your personal assets and your legacy. It's the shield every smart business owner needs. Register now for Dr. Rosie's powerful seminar at mytechacademy.net or call directly at 213-878-4742.
As an experienced business consultant, I will help you set it up right the first time. Visit mytechacademy.net. Call me 213-878-4742. Protect your family. Secure your legacy. Form your LLC today.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. My very special guest, Hulsey Matthews. Since moving back to South Africa in 2013, Hulsey has served on the boards of the South African Post Office and on the board of the Retirement Fund for the Post Office. In 2021, Hulsey was appointed by the National Assembly of South Africa as a counselor on the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, which regulates the technology and broadcast industry in South Africa. Dr. P.L. De Silva. Dr. De Silva is the co-founder with Professor W.K. Lakshman, former Vice Chancellor, University of Colombo, of the International War-Related Trauma and Humanitarian Intervention Trust, setting up psychosocial training programs for practitioners serving combatants, non-combatants during Sri Lanka's civil war. He's the experienced director with a demonstrated history of working in the think tanks industry and academia, the United Nations, political and military affairs, and the private sector, skilled in research, political risk analysis, geostrategy, cultural diplomacy, and humanitarian action. Dr. De Silva, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and Mr. Matthews.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things that particularly impressed me about Dr. De Silva when he was on our show the first time was something that he said, and it was this. We academics have to move out of our classrooms, and during these times, we must raise our voices and resist. That's one of the reasons I want Dr. De Silva to be a regular contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Dr. De Silva, why must we get out of the classrooms, raise our voices, and resist?
If we do not do that, if we do not emulate our grandparents who were in the civil rights movement, if we do not do that, these white supremacists and the billionaire class are going to steamroller all of us, over all of us. And there's going to be nothing left for us. There's not going to be any Medicaid. There's no education. There's no merit. It's going to be everything. Everybody's being, profiled, and they're going to look at your skin color and how you speak English. So these are the parameters. This is how the FBI and ICE and all these people profile you. And this is the very reason why we need to stand up for ourselves. Nobody is going to come and save us. Nobody. We got to do it ourselves. We got to pull ourselves up from the bootstraps. There was nobody who supported Rosa Parks. She did it herself. We have to emulate our great leaders of the past. And it's only then can this country can truly become a great country.
Dr. De Silva, in the tradition of Martin Luther King Jr., you make the connections between domestic policy in the United States and foreign policy abroad and the consequences and the ramifications of those movements. Please share with our listeners why that is so significant.
It is significant because what happens in Washington, D.C. actually can lead to dead bodies in foreign parts. Just the dismantling of USAID, which helped so many people, poor people, destitute people in foreign countries, which was part of the soft power and the charm of the United States. It has been dismantled. The USA does not exist anymore. So the United States does not have any soft power anymore. So we only have what? Hard power. So we send missiles, we send bombs, we send rockets, we send, warplanes. Is that what the United States is all about? Come on. These people claim to be Christians. I repeat, they claim to be Christians. Christians are supposed to do good. And therefore, the policies that are made in Washington, D.C. has huge impact worldwide. And therefore, we cannot disassociate. We can't, run back and think, okay, it's going to be make America great again and just look at ourselves. But if you look at President Trump and his people, they are not only, hoodwinking the people with all this hypocrisy, but they're also stuffing their pockets left, right, and center. It's a corrupt endeavor. The robber barons are the ones who are running this country.
Jose, there was a moment of hope during the tragic events that occurred post Hamas's unconscionable act of terror on October 7th. And that was the subsequent response by Benjamin Netanyahu, essentially using the world's most or second most powerful military on the planet against civilians that don't even have an air force. And it was South Africa that came to the Palestinians' rescue and support first in the international tribunals. That leadership, many of us in the civil rights movement found particularly impressive because we fought to end apartheid here in the United States, for there to be an African National Congress, for the majority to be able to rule, and then seemingly here in the United States, we were helpless to stop what was taking place beyond Hamas, a war that was being waged on the civilians themselves, even though many of us still support the two-state solution, which I think is probably a byword of history now. But it seems to me that African leadership showed for a moment a bright ray of hope in the midst of this human tragedy.
No, I think there's absolutely no question of that. And South Africa, the ANC in particular, as a government, has always had a very strong bond with the situation in Palestine. Nelson Mandela famously said, "South Africa cannot be free until Palestine is free." So there's a very strong historical link. And then when you see some of the events that have taken place, some of those events are reminiscent of some of the events that took place in South Africa. The tanks rolling in to the townships, the 1976 Soweto uprising, and many others, cross-border incursions. I don't know whether you'll remember, Jesse, when we went to Botswana and we went to the Botswana border in 1986, a very large contingent of the then South African Defense Force came to the border. We were at the Tlokoeng border, which is the border between South Africa and Botswana. And they came very, very close to the border as if to try to intimidate that delegation that was being shown, that proximity to the border and how often these incursions take place without any warning into Gaborone, and a number of activists from the ANC are killed and so on. So there's a very strong, I think, aspect of South Africa as an independent state and how it gained its independence that identifies very strongly with what has happened and what has been happening in Palestine and South Africa. I think was very clear and unequivocal about its support for the people of Gaza.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
JP Morgan Chase offers tips for the local business owners in 2025. Small business landscape is ever changing, and the Los Angeles market is no exception. A startup or legacy business, revisiting your mission statement and recalibrating offerings can renew opportunities for growth and innovations. Programs like Chase for Business Coaching for Impact gives entrepreneurs access to expert guidance, helping you streamline operations, strategize your growth, and navigate complex challenges. Businesses with a clear sense of purpose can navigate any challenge effectively, but also build stronger customer loyalty. Visit chase.com/coaching for impact for more information. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase. Let K. Michelle's Kitchen Catering bring your world of flavors to your next event. For all occasions, from casual brunches to office lunches, weddings, and glamour affairs, call us today at 310-819-6213 or go to kmichellekitchencatering.com or on Instagram at kmichelles_kitchen catering or Facebook at K. Michelle's Kitchen Catering. We look forward to cooking for you soon. Call 310-819-6213. 310-819-6213.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today. Catch Prep is now enrolling for summer credit recovery in fall 2025. As South Los Angeles' top-performing high school in English, math, and college access, Catch Prep is welcoming all 9th through 12th graders to enroll now. Catch Prep offers a small, supportive, and safe learning environment to help all students succeed, so that all students feel valued, respected, and motivated to reach their full potential. For the past 20 years, Catch Prep has helped more students of color gain admission to top-tier universities, with our graduating seniors earning a total of $3 million in scholarships, more than any other school in Los Angeles. We are dedicated to helping all students turn your college dreams into reality. Catch Prep is now enrolling. Visit us online at catchhighschool.com or call 323-293-3917. Space is limited. Please enroll now for summer credit recovery and fall 2025. Call 323-293-3917 or enroll today at catchhighschool.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In this hour, Jose Matthews, Worldwide with Jose Matthews, is our guest, and Dr. P.L. Da Silva, who has over 20 years' experience in backroom diplomacy, mediation, and negotiation. Gentlemen, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Good evening. Thank you.
Jose, I'm hoping that you and Dr. Da Silva will consider just hanging around with us after the hour for one more small segment with Dr. Johnny Mack. Johnny Mack has been tasked with helping envision a world house, largely based upon the work of Martin Luther King Jr. And I think today we've spent a lot of time talking about the state of the world house and where it is going. Dr. Da Silva talked about the absence of U.S. soft power, the end of the United States Agency for International Development. And that soft power, if I remember correctly, it's been a minute since I've been in Congress, but it was like less than 1% of the budget of the United States. And yet it vaccinated and it fed poor people and provided fresh water and housing opportunities all over the globe. And it is fairly amazing that one of the wealthiest nations on earth, and maybe the wealthiest nation on earth, is so stingy when it comes to the poor. Dr. Da Silva, I hope you'll join us for another 10 minutes, along with you, Jose Matthews, at the conclusion of this hour. Dr. Da Silva, if you would share with us your gravest concerns about the present course that we are on.
It's the cruelty. It's the cruelty of the Trump administration, of what they do to people without power, who are poor, who are old, who are pensioners. It's the sheer cruelty. That's what really beggars belief. These people, these so-called Christians, how cruel they are. They have fired hundreds of thousands of workers. They're affecting the tariffs are affecting the 401ks, the pensions. Some people have lost their pensions. Some people have lost chunks of their 401ks. So why are these people in power? Why are they in government? Just to fill their pockets? Aren't they supposed to be doing public service, looking after the affairs and the well-being of the American people? These people are really, truly despicable.
I can't disagree with that. Jose, your thoughts on where this is headed?
Oh, I think that we have entered the age of uncertainty, and we can wake up next week, and it's possible that another attack has been launched on another nation, or the tariffs are now going through the roof against India, for example, or the EU. And is it the strategic intent of the United States to break the global economy? How does it then reshape that economy when you have basically made many of these, particularly developing states, poorer and no longer able to export? Or what is this long-term strategic intent? There's always the notion that foreign policy drives domestic policy and not the other way around, and it's becoming very clear that the current trajectory of the United States is creating tremendous uncertainty. And what you're seeing is most leaders paying lip service, but I can assure you that behind closed doors, they're wringing their hands and they're smashing their heads against the wall because they just don't know what they face the next day when they wake up. And that's the real issue.
Is it driving these nations closer to China and closer to Russia? Are they finding certainty, Dr. De Silva, in these other countries other than the United States?
I think what will eventually happen is that there'll be the majority of countries worldwide will coalesce to countries that want to have free trade. So it'll be the EU, it'll be China. I think those will be the two big drivers, along with Southeast Asian countries and also India. And the BRICS, we should not discount the BRICS, which are also going to play a part. But people are going to trade among themselves. They are not going to listen to the diktat of President Trump and his tariffs and his whims and fancies. And ultimately, what's going to happen is that in 3.5 years' time, the United States will be in a very lonely place, in a very isolated place. And the problem for us living here is that we, the people, are going to feel the full brunt of this because billionaires don't care. They don't live from paycheck to paycheck. They simply don't care. So it's the poor people, the majority of people in this country. And that's why we have to get out the vote. We have to. We must. It's a matter of survival.
Jose, we have about 2.5 minutes before we conclude this segment, and of course, you and Dr. De Silva have agreed to stay with me for another segment. Do you see any hope, Jose? Is there any hope for our system in our way of life going forward?
I think we just have to just.
I'm sorry.
We just have to hope that 2026 comes a lot sooner, because that is what I think we're placing a lot of reliance on. The elections in the United States, the congressional elections in 2026, and some of the Senate seats. And I think that is perhaps the only hope, because it seems, when you look at it from a distance, that the Supreme Court no longer acts like the Supreme Court. It has become a court that basically carries out the wishes of the executive, and that's unheard of. Throughout, if you study American presidency, particularly in the modern era, even the appointment of conservative justices, never ever, you did not see this swing that was so complete. And I think that Associate Justice Kentani Brown was quite correct. You're seeing a fundamental meltdown of the American judicial system and the American judicial process that is now basically lock stock, moving in the same direction as the administration. And so it's quite for those of us who've lived and studied the United States, it's quite startling the direction that it's moving in this point. And we can only say, let's hope that the Democrats get their house in order and they seriously plan how to win the election next November. Because at this point, that's the only optimism that we can have.
I give a considerable amount of thought to this question of how do we restore faith in the Constitution of the United States. It is a battered document. It has been shredded in so many ways that even when the other side comes in to offer its points of view, it still finds itself with an imperial presidency. It still finds itself wondering whether or not it can now do on the left what Donald Trump has done on the right. And the future could just be this kind of back and forth. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, we will be talking about the World House with none other than Dr. Johnny J. Mack. And our guests from this hour have agreed to stay with us for another segment. I want to make this introduction because Dr. Mack has been so careful in his thinking on this matter. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tammy Esquick with BIN News Now. Autopsies are backed up at the Orleans Parish Coroner's Office, all because of an AC outage. The Black Coroner, Dr. Dwight McKenna, says he has to sign off on cause of death cases for the local police department. The chiller where bodies are kept is working, but he says the staff can't work in the autopsy room where thermostats are reading 85 degrees. I spoke to him this afternoon.
Temperature has to be between 58 to 62 degrees because if not, the floor sweats, the instruments sweat, the wall, and they're slipping around, dropping instrument. It's too dangerous.
The city says they're waiting for parts to get the AC fixed. Right now, bodies are being moved to a local university so autopsies can be conducted. A judge gave Black NFL player Rashid Rice 5 years probation and 30 days in jail in connection with a high-speed crash in Dallas last year. And a 3-judge panel is allowing Arkansas to enforce its ban on critical race theory in classrooms. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Uh-oh. She's looking at the cigarettes, but she just grabs the gum off the counter. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Chargers are playing in the NFL's first preseason game on July 31st. They play Detroit in the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. The Rams' preseason opener is August 11th against Dallas at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. It was a nice gesture Wednesday night by organizers of the ESPYs to have Russell Westbrook present Oscar Robertson with the Arthur Ashe Award for Courage. Westbrook and Robertson are the NBA's all-time best triple-double performers. Robertson's 41 triple-doubles in a season was an NBA record until Westbrook had 42 in the 2016-17 season. For my youngsters out there, look up Oscar Robertson on YouTube. He was the truth back in the day. Robertson, a 12-time All-Star, is the only player in NBA history to average a triple-double the entire season. In 1961-62, Robertson averaged 30.8 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 11.4 assists. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Well, thank you. Yeah. At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. And I thank you, thank you.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In this hour, our weekly series is The World House. Our special guest, Dr. Johnny J. Mack, who's well-traveled throughout America, Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, explicating Dr. King's call to restructure the social edifice of its triple evils of poverty, racism, and militarism, with a revolution of values that are effected through peaceable power. In the last hour, Brother Mac, Jose Matthews was our very special guest on his contribution to our program called Worldwide. And Dr. P.L. Da Silva, who is a distinguished professor, contributor, and thinker in many think tanks on some of the problems that confront our world. I wanted them to come over to our program for just this brief segment, in part because your work in the area of the evils of poverty, racism, and militarism were touched upon by both of these gentlemen, from South Africa to Israel and the Gaza to Syria. And in a real sense, Dr. King was a prophetic visionary on these questions. Brother Mac.
Close the door, you're on camera.
Jesse, thank you very much, Jesse. It's great always to be on the program, and have the privilege of listening to Mr. Matthews and Dr. De Silva. King really left us with an incredible roadmap, I think, and path toward realizing his vision of a world house. He anticipated, as you suggested in your close, Jesse, in the last segment, where we would be today in his last book, as you and I have spoken about over the last several weeks, when he asked the question, where do we go from here? So the work of Mr. Matthews and Dr. De Silva that you are doing is in line, I think, with that prescient vision of his and the road that he left us.
Dr. De Silva?
Yes, we need the civil rights movement. We need to fight back. We need to resist. We will not go down without a fight. We are going to win. And for us to do this, we need to organize. We need to get out the vote. We need to participate in the midterm elections. We need to defeat all these people who are anti-people, who are anti the American people, who are anti the pensioners, the poor people. But everybody's got to vote. And that must count.
Josie, it seems that the evils of poverty, racism, and militarism from Dr. King's prophetic vision are realities in just about every part of the world that you've ever visited.
No, I think that's correct, but and it's a real pleasure to be with Dr. Mack. I don't think he'll remember me from my younger days with Reverend Jackson, but I know him well, and I know his reputation very, very well, and he's somebody that we always looked up to and admired greatly. So it's a real honor to be on the show with him. But I think what I'd ask Dr. Mack is really just one question. Would Dr. King have gone to Gaza at this particular point, or gone to the Sudan, or any of the war-torn areas around the world? Because his philosophy was very clear in his view of the Vietnam War and the stand that he took. Would he have gone to Gaza today? And in your view, what would he have said with regard to what was taking place, or what is taking place there today?
Well, Jose, thank you for your comments earlier. And, to your question, would King have gone? Well, we can't be certain, can we, what he would have done. We can be certain of what he did, however, and how he supported those who struggled for peace and for justice, and to throw off apartheid in South Africa. I think he would have certainly been more than appalled. That word isn't sufficient. When you looked at the war, the conflict, as we see it today between Israel and the Palestinians in Gaza and beyond that region, he would be appalled at the support that is given to one side at the expense of the other. He would be appalled at the silence of those who are not outraged by the way the war is being prosecuted. Whether he would be physically there, we don't know. Whether his principles, his values, his vision would be in support of peace and justice with respect to the Palestinian people, he would be. Whether he would be in support of those on Israel's side who simply want to live in peace, I think he would be. But he would be against those who perpetrate and foster poverty, racism, and war.
With that, Jose Matthews, thank you for being with us, and Dr. De Silva.
Thank you very much, and wish you a very good rest of the show. Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you gentlemen shortly. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Our very special guest in this hour is Johnny Mack, and we'll continue to explore the questions of racism, poverty, and militarism and its impact on our world. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, you're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33 and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yeah.
Yeah, y'all, come on.
Here come the drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. In this hour, our weekly series presents The World House with Dr. Johnny J. Mack. Dr. Mack, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. It's so good to be here. Thank you.
Johnny, let me share this with you because Jose Matthews raised something that I think is important to our thinking on this question of the World House. He geopolitically located Dr. King in our time and in our space. And Dr. Da Silva shared with us that the triple evils that are at the core of so much of your work, racism, militarism, and poverty, are so global and so vast that they are simply not ignorable as factors in the chaos. Now, I say the location of Dr. King is particularly important because, we'd have to take a mental flight, which you did in your answer, to place Dr. King in this time and in this space, in Gaza, in Syria, in Appalachia. I mean, when we place Dr. King in these spaces, something happens to us. Something happens to our consciousness when we see this advocate for community up against our present chaos. It seems to me we're missing the community the common unity focus that I think Dr. King was encouraging us to find. Help me with this, Johnny.
Yeah, Jesse, if I may, I'd like to suggest that Dr. King places himself there. I think that Dr. King's message to us today is as fresh as it was when he was alive. And he is there because of how relevant and responsive his message, his assessment, his analysis of what ails this society. And so, he's ever with us, I think. But the question is, how do we join him? How, are we there?
Okay. That's good. That's good, Johnny.
Whether he's there, are we there with him?
Yeah.
Everyone invokes King's name. We look backwards, Jesse. He talks about the fond memories that we hold in chapter 5 of that book, about how the organizations then came together to fight the injustice of what one might call American apartheid. But King also said that those organizations that had assembled at that time would not be the ones. Stay with me, Jesse, now. He said those organizations would not be the same ones who would be assembled for the task ahead. And that task ahead is where we are now. Now, some might find that comment quite controversial today. But it goes back to, are we with him? And what is the structure? Dr. De Silva talked about organizing and mobilizing today. And then he mentioned voting. Is that the answer, Jesse? Voting certainly is necessary, and it provides a vehicle for us to express ourselves. And but do we end there? I think we should explore that a bit more in this hour and beyond.
So I would make the argument, and I did earlier this week, that we often hear, vote for this candidate in a positive affirmation of who they are. But I spoke about how, Thurgood Marshall was considered and called the great dissenter. That we saw Cory Booker on the floor of the United States Senate in the minority, dethrone Strom Thurmond of his title of having delivered the longest filibuster in the history of the Senate. We saw Congressman Hakeem Jeffries dethrone a Republican conservative with his magic minute, I guess 8 hours and 44 seconds. A speech to 1 minute became almost a third of a day, right? Ketanji Brown Jackson and now Sotomayor, chief justices, are now known as dissent. And maybe Dr. King didn't just see our vote as, I'm for you, Johnny, I'm for Josie, I'm for Dr. De Silva, but also saw our vote as a dissent. We have to stop this guy right here. We have to stop that right there. And maybe our vote, that power in that vote is not just out of guilt, because Rosa Parks sat down, because Dr. King dreamed, because Malcolm was assassinated, because Dr. King lived and was killed, I'm voting. No, maybe our vote is also our finger in the dike of a profound problem, which isn't limited to just the exercise of it, but it also includes, are you conscious of the budget? Are you conscious of Medicare and Medicaid? Are you conscious of the social programs and the social uplift that is necessary? Are you capable of moving beyond race and sex and class and identifying with people who are trying to live the same basic life as you in this community?
Yeah. And Jesse, to whom should those questions be posited? Are we simply talking to those who would be elected, those who would represent us in Congress? Are those questions solely for them? Or Jesse, are those questions that we, you and I, and those listening to us should be answering ourselves? What is the consciousness that we must have? And then what do we do about that consciousness? Programs like this one, programs like yours are so important in the business of creating this collective consciousness that brings us to a point of solidarity, and then answering the question that King asked of all of us: where do we go from here? And then finally, I would say that as we've talked in the past, the question really is, what are we going to do about it? In other words, after voting, then what? Right? After marching, then what? How do we make the substantive change that we seek? And whose responsibility is it to make it? Those are the questions I think we should spend time on.
I wouldn't. I wish you were running for office, right? Because when I cast my vote, I'd be casting vote in someone who I know would be engaged in a deep reflection on the matters of life that didn't see them as political, but that understood that, as Raphael Warnock has said, that a vote is a kind of prayer. My kind of prayer is that a President Johnny Mack will study war no more. My kind of prayer is that putting a man or a woman on their own 2 feet right here in America would be a higher value than a hypersonic missile. And that you would see value in no more aircraft carriers until there were equal high quality schools from sea to shining sea. So the vote in and of itself, without I guess Baldwin would call Dr. King some kind of avatar, in the absence of Jesus, in the absence of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, in the absence, and I rarely call his name because I've got a lot of problems with Paul, having never met Jesus. But in the absence of Paul, to be an avatar for a Christ-like figure whose empathy with and concerns for the least of these are at the core of the decision-making process. It just seems to me that the vote is a tool at that level, but if there's no Johnny Mack, if there's no Dr. Da Silva, if there's no Jose Matthews, if there's no one running to which we are investing our prayer, our trust, and our hope in, it seems to me that my hope falls on somebody who may or may not know what they're talking about, that maybe they'll come around to the idea of doing right, but their political calculations are fundamentally different than my theological calculations.
Well, you said a lot there for sure. And you're talking about many things there, of course, Jesse, and among them leadership. And what does it mean? What type of leadership do the challenges and opportunities that confront us today require? And do we have that leadership today? Who do we look to? Who do we vote for? Who represents us, and who can we count on? That's a very big question and requires, careful consideration. We're the Mickey Lelands today. And I don't mean to suggest that some of the leadership in Congress today, or even in the state houses, don't bring some of that real gusto and internal turmoil that I talked about last week, that the Harold Washingtons and again Mickey Leland's and the kings of that time possessed.
Mickey Leland, for those of you who may not know, Mickey Leland was a congressman from Texas and was the head, I believe, of the Hunger Task Force in the Congress of the United States. And often he would go to Andrews Air Force Base as the chairman and take a federal government plane, fly to various parts of the world delivering food. He had that kind of power in the Congress. And I shall never forget the day that Mickey's plane was missing, flying over Ethiopia. And the president of the United States, I think, sent a large contingent, maybe even a battalion of armed servicemen to scour the hillsides looking for any signs of the life of Mickey Leland. And they found his plane. They found his remains. I knew Mickey. I knew his chief of staff who was on the plane, and others. And so it was quite a dramatic event. Must be nearly 40 years ago, 35 years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
35, 40 years ago.
It would do us well. His memory is important, not just because of the tragic ending of his life, but what his life represented, and the example that he gave us in Congress, but not only him, so many others. Do we have that kind of leadership today? And how do we identify them? How do we find them? I think we should, explore that a bit more, Jesse.
I absolutely agree. Since you brought up the Mickey example, these are the people who did the work, right?
Yes, sir.
The Perrin Mitchells, the Ron Dellums.
Yes. Some
of them had fun out of New York. Adam Clayton Powell.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Kind of redefined the institution of Congress. I shared with some people a long time ago, I wanted to do the work at a Perrin Mitchell event. I said, when it came to working, I was Perrin Mitchell. But when it came to having fun, everybody wants to be Adam Clayton Powell. Okay, well, let's move on beyond that. So I'm thinking that for this moment, and we just have a couple of minutes before the break, that maybe we saw this hope factor born again in the candidacy of Barack Obama, right? I mean, the personage of Barack Obama. But for that moment where it seems that all of the cultural imperatives of our struggle came together, of course, governing as president of the United States yielded a mixed bag of whether or not we actually achieved a beloved community, whether or not Dr. King, as some had proclaims, that his work had reached a kind of zenith. But now that we are living through the backlash of what the Obama presidency represents, and history with hindsight has a very different interpretation as to whether or not, given all that we're losing, whether or not we got enough in those 8 years. I mean, I wish he'd issued 2,000 executive orders freeing the people. Yeah. But of course, we approach the position very, very cautiously based upon the models and examples that have been set for us by historic presidents. Yeah. And I only have about 45 seconds before we come forward. But your thoughts, Johnny, on that take?
Yeah, well, of course, Obama was important for so many reasons, and the opportunity he had in the presidency is very different. The times are different, and how significant was the change in the timing and the mindset of the American people. Imagine Obama taking on some of the things that we find in the current presidency. I don't think he would have lasted in that office very long.
Democrats might have ran him out of town.
Exactly. So what is that change? How did it occur? There's so much to explore here.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is Dr. Johnny Mack. When we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tammy Eswick with BIN News Now. The head of the National Urban League says democracy is under siege. Mark Morial points to the Trump administration's efforts to end diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, and the Supreme Court's ruling to end affirmative action in college admissions.
We have to recognize that this is going to be a long battle. This challenge is not going to be solved by a single Supreme Court decision, a single piece of legislation, or a single election. This is really a battle for the future of America.
His comments come after the findings of the Urban League's annual State of Black America report, which he calls a warning and a rallying cry to protect civil rights. By the way, Mark Morial is the former Black mayor of the majority Black city of New Orleans. Critical race theory won't be taught in Arkansas classrooms. A 3-judge panel just said that Arkansas is allowed to enforce its ban. Students argued it violated their First Amendment rights. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Uh-oh. She's looking at the cigarettes, but she just grabs the gum off the counter. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Chargers are playing in the NFL's first preseason game on July 31st. They play Detroit in the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. The Rams preseason opener is August 11th against Dallas at SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. It was a nice gesture Wednesday night by organizers of the ESPYs to have Russell Westbrook present Oscar Robertson with the Arthur Ashe Award for Courage. Westbrook and Robertson are the NBA's all-time best triple-double performers. Robertson's 41 triple-doubles in a season was an NBA record until Westbrook had 42 in the 2016-17 season. For my youngsters out there, look up Oscar Robertson on YouTube. He was the truth back in the day. Robertson, a 12-time All-Star, is the only player in NBA history to average a triple-double the entire season. In 1961-62, Robertson averaged 30.8 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 11.4 assists. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431, and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
Yeah, yo, come on. Here come the drums.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, We don't back down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of step. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. My very special guest on Thursdays, the World House with Dr. Johnny Mack. Dr. Mack is well-traveled throughout America, Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. I don't know anyone who covers more ground on this globe than Dr. Johnny Mack. But he's also deeply rooted in the African-American experience, our movement and civil rights here in the United States, and he's capable, which he does every week, of drawing the parallels between what we do at home and what is taking place abroad. That, too, was a significant part of Martin Luther King Jr.'s work. With that, Johnny, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. It's good to be here.
Johnny, I want to go back to this Josie Matthews question for a moment, and Dr. De Silva. I want to locate, for example, Dr. King in his time and in his space. And I love the way you kind of flipped the script or reversed the thinking on that question. That's really challenging for my one-dimensional mind sometimes. Dr. King geopolitically located himself against the Vietnam War. And we were not there with him. He became immensely unpopular. Preachers turned against him. They wouldn't let him speak in their pulpits. He became an unpopular figure with his anti-war position. So it seems to me that there are many of these moral dilemmas or moral cases around the world where Dr. King might locate himself and that we might not be there with him. Help us with it, Johnny.
Yeah. Actually, Jesse, isn't that really where we are today?
Yeah, I think so.
You know, and
it's lonely. You know, it's a lonely road.
If I may, just before the segment, we talked about Obama, and I'd like to juxtapose Obama and King in this context. And we commented that if Obama had done what we see the current presidency doing, he would not have lasted in the office very long. The question is why? What changed so significantly from Obama's administration to the current administration? Well, the person's changed, first of all. So that says something. And there's an analysis to be had there that isn't so difficult. But something else changed, Jesse. And King had to deal with this as well. What changed between Obama and the current administration is the people today who support the current presidency support the current presidency. And they also make demands of the current presidency. And we're seeing of late, within the last week or so, certain demands that maybe the current presidency is not so enamored with or very happy about.
He's a little busy with that one.
He's a little busy with it, isn't he? But his constituency, Jesse, his constituency supported him. And at least up until now, we think we'll continue to support him, but we'll see. But did Obama get that same support? And the demands placed on Obama, were they tantamount to the demands that are placed upon the current presidency? What did the people demand of Obama? And then what kind of support did they give him to see those demands followed through? You know, if King were here today, then so back to your question, What demands would we place on his leadership? And then what support would we give him? And so that question then becomes to the kings of today, whether they are elected in Congress or whether they are civic leaders or local politically elected leaders or even private sector leaders. What kind of demands do we place upon our leaders today? And then what kind of support do we give them to see those demands followed? Or yes, those demands acted upon.
Johnny, I think I'm kind of uniquely positioned on the Obama question, in that I remember when Michelle Obama brought him home from Harvard. I remember when he first stepped into our living room and met my parents. I remember when I ran for Congress and defeated Alice Palmer, and Alice Palmer turned to my father and said, "I know you want to support me, Reverend, but I'm supporting a young Barack Obama to be my state senator. So I'm not going to support your son." I said, "See, Dad, Alice is for her. She's not for me." So I ran against her. I beat her. And then she tried to get her seat back. And Barack Obama challenged her petitions and became a state senator. I was the co-chairman of his campaign for the United States Senate. Just two people did that, me and Paul Simon. I was a sitting congressman at the time, very popular congressman in Illinois. And I was co-chairman of his campaign for president. When Obama won, we did not have any demands of him. We became defensive. We decided we wanted to protect him. He's ours. Don't criticize him. Leave him alone. Don't raise your voice at him. Don't ask him for nothing.
That's right.
Just be happy he there now, y'all, and we're gonna defend him. And anybody open their mouth, we coming after you for taking. Wait a minute, we need this brother to pass out some pardons, man. I mean, we need this Negro right here to change some DOJ policy. Wait a minute now. We need the great vault of opportunity that keeps coming back marked insufficient funds, and to do something for our education, our health care, for the environment, for equality for women. Now, what do y'all mean we're going to defend him no matter what he do? It just seems that, and then there's a different court, of course, right? There's a different view of the Constitution under Obama. The court itself was racist in that it saw itself as standing between an imperial executive, if that were Obama, but it never was his thinking, and anything he might do that needed to be checked by the court itself. None of that exists today, John.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Just an excellent analysis of where we were then and where we are now. And yes, we were quite defensive and perhaps to our own peril. We had our opportunity, and what did we do with it? And again, the we is us, the people. Ultimately, you said earlier something about a tattered constitution, a tattered and torn constitution. Well, it's tattered and torn because we have tattered it and we have torn it. We've allowed it to be tattered and torn, and we can mend it. We, the people. The question is, how do we do that?
Yeah,
I said earlier and asked the question, is voting the only way to do it? And that was a loaded question, because we have to understand, Jesse, that going to the ballot is necessary, but it's not sufficient.
Yeah. We got to stay on these guys. I mean, the price that we pay for our freedom is an eternal vigilance.
Yes, that's right.
I know, Johnny, that at some point in time, my body's going to fail. I mean, every morning I wake up, my back hurts. My shoulders hurt, my wrists hurt. Something new hurts on me every day at 60. But I actually am excited about the mental gymnastics associated with preparing for these shows, because I have to be on it every day. And while my body may fail me, my mind is in a vigilant state of constant engagement. And I think some of us wait for the elections to come around before we re-engage. I was talking just yesterday, for example, about the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and some of the changes that it has gone through over the last 30 years. And lo and behold, I woke up one day and I was elected to Congress from a Voting Rights Act district. And what that meant, and including the fact that I had to defend my district against state legislatures and courts who would seek to dilute it and therefore dilute my voice. I was fighting for my district like I was fighting for my voice because my voice is what I have and it's what I know. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, more with Johnny Mac.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, also known as AD, a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior, making everyday tasks challenging. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? There are things you can do to help reduce your risk for developing AD. Managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure is crucial. Staying physically active, maintaining social connections, eating a healthy diet, and keeping your mind engaged with activities like reading or puzzles can all contribute to brain health. It's also important to recognize some common signs and symptoms of early AD, such as forgetfulness that causes problems with everyday life, asking the same question a few times in a row, and difficulty concentrating on basic tasks. If you see these signs in yourself or loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatallzearly.com. That's treatallzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online. I read that Black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older, like you, are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
Visit WeTalkWeRise.com to learn more. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Member Week is here at Lowe's. Don't miss your chance to get up to 40% off hundreds of items like paint, tools, home essentials, and more. Shop our exclusive deals happening in-store and online now through July 18th. Not a rewards member? Join for free today and get ready to save more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. My very special guest in this final segment is Dr. Johnny Mac. Dr. Mac, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
Dr. Mac, I want to conclude with this little thought. I think Dr. King thought like an architect. He understood the pre-construction of the United States from 1619 to 1776. I think he understood the construction of the United States from July 4th, 1776 through the Bill of Rights. I think he understood the deconstruction of the United States when it all fell apart, when 11 stars decided they no longer wanted to be part of the flag. He was an architect. He saw what they had built. And then he saw the reconstruction of the United States, first Reconstruction. And then he saw Jim Crow. And obviously, with Brown versus the Board of Education, he saw second Reconstruction. And he must have, as an architect, through his dream, envisioned the idea of some kind of third Reconstruction. Some kind of third Reconstruction. I'm not so sure whether or not he understood or appreciated, but I'm sure that he did, that between Reconstruction periods, there's this resistance period, this post-Obama period of some new form of Jim Crow, some Jim Crow 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
So I put on this lens of an architect when I think about Dr. King, because he's a builder.
Mm.
He's a builder. He believes in blueprints. He believes in the foundational kind of stuff. So towards this community or chaos question, I think Dr. King would try to meet with Donald Trump. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know if it's with you, but I don't think pass up on the meeting.
I agree with you, Jesse, on that point. I do believe that Dr. King would meet with Donald Trump and anyone else who's willing to sit down and to discuss the issues, who's willing to have, in good faith, a conversation about where we are and where we go from here. And that is, I believe, how King would approach the conversation.
Mm.
And so if we can't talk to each other, if we can't communicate with each other, if we can't approach each other with a sense that we each have equal dignity and worth and deserve the same respect that we demand for ourselves, then how will we ever resolve our conflicts? So absolutely, I think that King would at least reach out and seek that kind of conversation. And I think that we all have to do that. That's what's wrong with our Congress, in my view, today. People who are not willing to reach across the aisle, as we call it, and to talk to each other, to engage with each other. Rather, we talk to our own, we engage our own, and we otherize anyone who's not part of us. And therein lies our peril and the decline of our United States of America.
I think Dr. King seeks a meeting with Vladimir Putin. Talk to me, Johnny.
Why wouldn't he seek a meeting under the same scenario, the same circumstances that I've described? The question is, how does one create those circumstances? How does one reach out? And what does one expect in return? So yes, I think a Benjamin Netanyahu, we have to find the common ground. And we do that through engaging, through dialogue. Yes, with some ground rules, those ground rules of respect and the values that come with that.
For example, I would encourage Dr. King not to meet with him in the Oval Office. We've had too many examples, from Zelensky to the president of South Africa, that he may play a video for you that you don't want to see. Trump is capable of hijacking a certain kind of meeting, so it would be well thought through. But I think with Trump and Putin, he definitely seeks a meeting. I think he seeks a meeting with Kim Jong-un.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I think we've made the point that King seeks a meeting with anyone who's willing to sit down and address issues of peace and justice. And that's the example for all of us, isn't it?
I think the question that I want to double back with you on is this: but are we there with him?
Yes. And what demands are we making of ourselves in that regard, right? Are we there with him? Would we find the space, and would we have that internal turbo that we talked about last week? That's something inside ourselves that is superior to the circumstances and the naysayers who say, "Oh no, you can't do that." Are we willing to take the risks for peace and for justice and for love? And are we willing to believe in the hope of humanity? These are the things that have made America great, that makes men and women great.
Well, like I said, our Thursdays together are as heavy as they get, Johnny. We have about 4 minutes before the break, and I think I have exhausted my initial thinking on parts of the World House. I do know that Dr. King would certainly have to reconstruct the edifice that he finds at this hour. I think if he were an architect and he were rebuilding it, I like to think the edifice would be built around fair trade, not just free trade, but fair trade. I think Mr. Matthews talked about, every generation digging a little deeper in Africa, excavating a little bit more from Africa, and leaving nothing in Africa, as deeply troubling. It might be free trade, but it's not fair trade. It doesn't take into context human development, and it doesn't leave healthcare. It doesn't leave vaccines. It leaves polio. It leaves measles. It leaves disease, the kind of disease that mosquitoes, malaria. So I think Dr. King is outraged by the elimination of soft power.
Yeah,
that the closing of USAID would be a bell, an alarm that he would sound that would be so loud. Johnny, we have about 3 minutes until end of show. Please provide us with some hope.
Well, I hope I can. During the break, I heard the voice of our good friend Mark Morial, the head of the Urban League, who talked about we are in the battle for the future of America. And Jesse, that's where we are. Not only a battle for the future of America. We called that the soul of America, redeeming the soul of America. It's what we termed that challenge. But not only for America, but for the world itself. We are in the middle of a tectonic change in the whole global social order. A social order that King himself said we had to reconstruct. We needed a new social order. And so the question is, what will the social order be? Fair trade, free trade, trade? What about the system itself? What are the systems that will carry us forward as a people of these United States, as a people of, as global citizens? What is the world order that will give every human person the opportunity to realize their potential, where we will study war no more, we live in peace and justice? These are the conversations that we must have, and not just talk about them, Jesse, but we must find ways to realize them. And I hope we can talk about that in our future conversations.
I look forward to it. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Thursdays with Johnny Mack. So grateful that you're here with us today, Johnny.
So grateful for the invitation, Jesse.
It's always a pleasure. Our show is your show. When we come forward, it will be tomorrow. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Thank you, Johnny.
Be well.